all, welcome back to Trity Technologies. Please like, subscribe, share our channel with your friends and families. Join Telegram channel. If you have any queries, please reply. Please post your comments so that we'll reply and we'll try to resolve your questions. So we are doing AWS DevOps. So we have already done 2 sessions. So we are talking about AWS pillars. Okay, so in AWS pillars, we have already discussed about operational excellence and security. Security is very important, guys. So I've already mentioned that this is a huge thing that when you're working in any cloud. Okay, so please go through that session. It's very important, and you guys might already seen some security vulnerabilities which has happened last week on Log4j. Okay, so these kind of things are very much coming up in the real time scenarios. So we should be very careful when we are doing or we are implementing our securities in our organization. So we'll discuss reliability and performance efficiency and also cost optimization. So we'll try to cover reliability and also all the remaining parts. So we'll try today to complete all those AWS pillars. This is session 3 of AWS DevOps. Okay, so what do you mean by reliability? Okay, so and you already know like reliability is one of the pillars of any cloud. Okay, so it might be any cloud. Okay, so I've already told you like this is not restricted to only AWS, but whatever cloud you are implementing, reliability is very important. Like how you are automating or recovering from failures. Okay, so it is always important like you recover from failures automatically. Okay, and also how you what are the things you have in place in testing recovery procedures, then how you scale horizontally to increase workload availability, and how you stop guessing capacity and managing changes in automation. Okay, so these 5 points are the major principles of the reliability. Let me write it down. Let me pause it here 1 second. Okay, so these are the 5 principles of the reliability. Okay, so what do you mean by automating recover from failures? Okay, so whenever we are talking about recovering from failures, we always talk about technology solution, right? So this is always a solution, or whatever, like if you are having any application, if it is going down, how much time you take to recover that application to bring it up, right? So that is the major important thing, like how you automate that recovery process is very important. Okay, so here we have two key performance indicators, that is RTO and RPO. What do you mean by RTO? RTO is nothing but required time objective. RPO is nothing but required point. Okay, so this is required point objective, this is required time objective. What do you mean by required time recovery time objective, and this is recovery point objective? What do you mean by recovery time objective? Recovery time objective is nothing but the maximum acceptance delay between your interruption. Okay, so whatever the service got interrupted, okay, and also the time between interruption and restoration. Okay, so how much acceptable maximum time you have between your interruption and restoration, this time in between we call it as recovery time object. And recovery point object is nothing but the backup. Okay, or wherever we have last data recovery point. Okay, so since the last data recovery point, so from there, okay, so whatever the time we are measuring, that is we call it as recovery point object. Okay, so that is nothing but the maximum acceptable amount of time since the last data recovery point, that is your backup. Okay, so next comes, okay, so the next thing is testing recovery procedures. So whenever you are talking about cloud or any cloud, like whatever cloud environment, okay, so you should not only test your workload functions properly, but also you should take care like recovery from single or multiple component failures, right? And also you should be taking care of these testing procedures, like whenever you have the failures. Okay, so on any service, it might be your availability zone or it might be on a regional level. Okay, so whatever the level it is, you should have a recovery procedure. Okay, so and also you should be having best practices to recover whatever the issues or failures you see, right? So the best practices like your IAC, that is infrastructure as a code, or your continuous deployment pipelines, right? Or if you have any regional backups. Okay, so you, if you see any issues, so that we can directly go and bring that environment up, or you can spin up your environment with new like, for example, I see that something went wrong on an availability zone, and you are having only one availability zone where you have deployed all your applications, and you see some failures on the availability zone. Okay, so using these procedures, if you have infrastructure as a code or CD pipelines or backups, okay, so what you can do is you can spin up a new environment within minutes. Okay, so that is always important, that how you are having your testing recovery procedures in place. Okay, and also you can have your documentations, like most of the organizations in real time, they have their run books or playbooks, right? So all these information are documented, so that these procedures, okay, so whenever you see any failures, you can go and refer those documents and you can recover your failures. And next comes your scaling horizontally. Okay, so what do you mean by scaling horizontally? Okay, so whenever you see increase of workloads, nothing but use you, there is some few use cases like Amazon.com or Flipkart.com, right? So these guys will have their festival offers, and whenever you see the number of hits or the number of users logging in that period of time are huge, right? So they cannot buy an infrastructure, and they cannot accommodate that traffic, right? So what they will do is they will increase the capacity of the infrastructure horizontally. What do you mean by horizontally? The simple thing is we have two scales. One is vertical, one is horizontal, right? So what do you mean by vertical? Vertical is nothing but, for example, if I have one CPU with 2 megabytes, and if I have two CPU with 4 megabytes, and I will increase the same thing with 4 CPU with 8 megabytes, right? So this is nothing but I'm doing it vertically. Okay, so I'm increasing the size or the capacity of that box. Okay, but here when I'm talking about horizontal, okay, so here what I'll do, I'll give two CPUs with 4 MB. I'll go with two boxes, two servers. Here I'll have only one box. If I have 4 CPU with 8 MB, okay, so if I have to increase it to 16 MB, I will increase that in the box. Okay, so this box, what I will do, I will add memory onto this box. But if I have 4 CPUs, like 4 machines with 8 MB, okay, if I want to increase 16 MB, so what I'll do, I'll add one more machine and I'll add more memory. Okay, so I'm increasing it is horizontally, I'm not increasing this in vertically. Okay, so vertical is nothing but one of the use case is your laptops or your desktops. Okay, so most of the time whenever you are using 8 GB of RAM, so whenever you want to increase your 8 GB of RAM, what you will do, you will add one more RAM into the same machine, right? And you will make it as 16 GB, nothing but you are doing it vertically. Okay, so but here in the cloud or any environment, we can do it horizontally, because in cloud I can buy it for few hours. Okay, so for example, I see like for 8 hours my traffic will be very high, so what I'll do, I'll buy or I'll increase it horizontally, then after my requirement are completed, I'll destroy this. Okay, so that I can use only whatever existing. Okay, so the same example or use case I've given you for the Amazon or Flipkart, right? So for example, on the normal days they will have only two boxes. Okay, so two vCPUs with 16 GB RAM. Okay, whenever they see like there is a festive season, so they wanted to increase it for 5 days, so what they will do, they will increase it horizontally, making it as 32 GB 4 CPU. Okay, and whenever these 5 days got completed and they'll see everything will go, everything will be normal, then they will remove these two boxes and they will go with the existing boxes which are already available. Okay, so this is the major thing when people are talking about vertical scaling and also about horizontal scaling. Okay, so it is always important that we do horizontal scaling. Okay, so we never do vertical scaling in our environments because that is not a good practice. Okay, so next thing is stop guessing capacity. What do you mean by stop guessing so whenever you are defining or whenever you are designing an architecture, most of the time you see in the on-premise. Okay, so when you are working on on-premise, sometimes you see a demand. Okay, so demand on the capacity, like you have to increase something on memory front or on the disk front. Okay, so there you have something called soft limit and hard limit. So soft limit is something like you can go and request for your uh, increase in the capacity. Okay, but hard limit is something where you will have defined slots. Okay, so for example, in your on-premise box there's only 16 GB RAM slot. Okay, so you cannot increase further. Okay, so but if you see there is a requirement in the capacity and you have only 16 GB of machine. Okay, so then that will be a big problem. Okay, so always when you are doing math or when you are doing design and architecture, it is always important that you have to calculate. Okay, so and you have to calculate what is your soft limits and what is your hard limits. Okay, so without that you cannot manage your application or your clients. Okay, so it is always important that you stop guessing the capacity. Instead of that, you have a good measure of the application and you have a good measure of what is happening. Okay, so this issue is totally resolved in the cloud environments. Why it is resolved? So because you can do horizontal scaling, you can do auto scaling, you can go beyond your limits, you can go and you can compress whatever is required. Okay, so it is always there in the cloud. So guessing capacity is totally you can ignore in the cloud environment, but when you are doing it on premise, so make sure that you do it correctly. Okay, so here definitely when we are doing it on the cloud, so when it is reliability front, so we are definitely stop guessing what is the capacity, right? So next comes about your managing changes in automation. Okay, so sometimes it's easy to make changes. Okay, so it might be your infrastructure or your application. Okay, but whenever you are changing your infrastructure, okay, so whatever you have automation like infrastructure as a code or any automation in place. Okay, so sometimes it will drift. Okay, so and also this will not be a repeatable process. Okay, so always the best practice is to automate all changes using infrastructure as a code and also using code versioning systems and a deployment pipeline. Okay, so whatever changes you do, it is a simple IP change. Okay, so if you want to add a simple public IP, do it using infrastructure as a code. A simple deployment, okay, simple installation of yum. For example, you want to install yum, install any simple thing like vim or anything. Okay, so always make sure that you do using pipelines, right? So don't do it manually. Okay, so always manage changes in automation even if it is a minor change. Okay, so even if it is a minor change, go for the automation. Okay, so because automation is a big thing which your environment is reliable on. Okay, so all these 5 points are very important when you are talking about reliability. Okay, so these 5 points, these five principles are made for reliability. So next comes your performance efficiency. Okay, so what do you mean by performance efficiency? It is always important that all our applications or infrastructure design, whatever we are doing, right? So the performance is proper, or the performance is good or high. Okay, so if you see any problem on your performance side, then uh, like whatever the design or architecture you are doing, like that will have a huge impact. Okay, so whenever your architecture teams or your senior architect team, okay, so whenever they are designing anything, or if you are into the architect teams and if you are designing anything, make sure that you understand what type of instances you have to choose, what type of compute options you need to choose, and what type of servers you need to choose, and what type of containerized platforms you need to choose, and what type of workloads you have, right? So what will be the workloads you have, what is the requirement of the workload, and how you manage all these services with like how you manage all this workload using these services is very very important to maintain your performance. Okay, and also whenever you are making your initial selection, okay, so whenever you are doing an initial selection, okay, so it will be a benchmarking process. Okay, so like it is always important that you are utilizing whatever you have deployed on, like your CPU, or it might be your memory resources. Okay, so you make sure that everything has been allocated for your workload, because it always involves cost, right? So this you need to keep in your mind. So whenever you are talking about performance, you need to choose appropriate services for your workload, and also make sure that whatever services you are using utilized properly, because it always involves your cost, right? Because saving the cost or saving the money in the organizations is very very important when you are doing an architect or design job, because everything is depends on you, what you are saving, how you are saving, how good your design is, and how the utilization is happening on the design, and also how good your performance, yeah, like how good your application is performing. Okay, so in AWS actually we have cloud formation to do this benchmark test, right? Like these are the creative create your infrastructure, deploy your infrastructure, and monitor your infrastructure. Okay, so these are the major things. Okay, so whenever you want to create your infrastructure, you can use cloud formation. Whenever you want to deploy your application, you can use code build. And whenever you want to monitor, you all already know that is CloudWatch, right? So in AWS it is easy to spin up whatever the infrastructure you wanted, and also it is easy to do your load testing, and also it is easy to monitor whatever you have spinned up. Okay, so these are the major things which includes your performance. Okay, so like your application performance, I mean. Okay, and also the major principles of performance is like making advanced technologies easier for your team to implement. Okay, so whatever the technologies are there, it is easy to like you should make advanced technologies easier for your team to implement, and also being able to go global. Okay, so within minutes, so within minutes, you need to make sure that whatever the region you wanted to go, you have to deploy that. Okay, and also you can use serverless. We'll talk more on serverless, but yeah, make sure that you're also using serverless architectures for better performance, and also allowing your teams to experiment, and also use technology that aligns with your goals, right? So these are five major principles. Okay, so implement advanced technologies. Okay, so it is always important that you are using all the methods which are available. Okay, so for example, I've already mentioned these three, right? So to create, deploy, and monitor. Okay, so use all the available technologies for your DBAs, for your servers, like you have MariaDB, you have Postgres. Okay, so for all these things, like use all the advanced technologies so that it is easy to implement, and also being able to go global in minutes. Okay, so nothing but like whenever you are using AWS. Okay, so I'll also let you know about CDN. Okay, so um, content delivery network, how you use CDN, that is CloudFront in AWS, to make your application spread out globally. Okay, and also use serverless architectures. Serverless architectures are very important to manage your workloads. Okay, so we'll discuss more on serverless architectures as well, and also make sure that your teams to experiment. Okay, so like whenever you are seeing anything new, try to create a new environment and try to test it quickly, and also do the cost efficient way to try new modular pieces of your application. Okay, so that is very important in any organization or in any cloud, that you always experiment and you always adopt the new technologies which are coming into the um, cloud environments or that provider. Okay, so next, using technologies, okay, that align with your goals. Okay, so this is generally like whatever your business goals are. Okay, or whatever your product owner required. Okay, so select services or products based on those goals. Okay, so whenever you are into the organizations, whenever you're working the real time, it is always important that you, your technologies, whatever we mentioned here, implementation, go global, serverless, experiments. Okay, so everything should align with your workload goals. Okay, so that is major important thing. Okay, so that is about the performance efficiency. The next last pillar of AWS is cost. Cost optimization. What do you mean by cost optimization? Okay, so whenever we deploy something on cloud, or whenever people are moving on from on premise to cloud, they have a misconception that when they are moving to the cloud, they think like there is a cost save, that is a cost saver. Okay, but whenever you see that in reality, it's not true. Okay, because whenever you deploy any service, or whenever you deploy any application on top of your cloud, it is always important that you make sure that what cost it is. Okay, and make sure that how much it is getting charged per minute, or charged per hour, or charged per month, because some of the services are huge cost. Okay, so whenever you see an employee, okay, with a month package or 1 month salary, your service is more than what he is earning. Okay, that is a huge cost. Okay, so it is always important that you optimize what you are using, you optimize what the cost is, by having a monitoring in place. You have to have a monitoring in place to see what servers you are deploying, or what resources you are deploying, what is you're feeding to the underlying servers. Okay, so you have to make sure what type of operating systems you are using, and how you allow the teams to deploy the applications, who have the access to deploy the services, or the infrastructure. Okay, so that is very very important, and it is always important that you make sure that you have a billing monitoring or the cost optimization in place. Okay, because it's always important that you adopt the correct consumption model, and also stop spending money on um, heavy lifting services which are not required. Okay, so and also make sure that you analyze and attribute your expenditures regularly. Okay, so and also make sure that you always give appropriate permissions to the people who are going to launch the services. Okay, so these are all very very important things when you are talking about cost. Okay, so this is about the fifth pillar of AWS or any cloud, that is cost optimization. Okay, so just go review the things in 3 sessions we have covered, like what are the 5 pillars, we talked about, and what are the five main areas that security in the cloud consists of, and what is RTO, what is RPO, or what are the three main pillars of reliability. Okay, so just make sure that you ask yourself all these questions, and hope you have got a clear picture of uh, these five things what we have discussed till now. Okay, so if you have any queries, post me in the Telegram channel so that I'll try to reply you back there. Okay, and also if you want to learn more things, you can go for the white papers which are in AWS. So I'll share those links in the description if possible, so that you guys can go and check all those white papers, so that it will be very helpful for you. Because whenever you go to docs.aws.com, so you can go and check the security pillar, reliability, and also you can check all the performance efficiency pillars. Okay, so these are all been documented well. Okay, so you can go and check all that for your readings, and also I'll post them in the description channel if possible. Otherwise you guys can directly go to AWS documentation, and you can check all the pillars what we have discussed here. Okay, so next session we'll try to cover all the fundamental AWS services. Okay, so and also what is the technical requirements they have, so how you can access your AWS console, and how you set up AWS CLI, and how you do your Linux setup, and how you configure the CLI, and also we'll see some of the AWS cloud computes. Okay, so we'll see all these services, we'll try to discuss on them. Okay, so so that you guys will have a clear picture of what exactly AWS have, because we are talking only about AWS. Okay, so we are not talking about any other clouds. So till here it is about all the clouds, the five pillars which we have discussed till now. It is helpful for all the clouds. Okay, so keep watching this space for AWS DevOps, and have a great day. Bye.